Well, hello and welcome back to From the Ground Up. I'm your host, Carmen Milagro, and we have a very special, wonderful show today on location, but I'm going to tell you that later. So, what's an entrepreneur artist, a certified CBD consultant, a master certified CBD wellness coach, an author, and instructor of Truths About Hemp CBD, and co founder of CBD University doing here hosting this show? Well, we all start somewhere. And usually, in whatever career you're in, most people, like today's guest, do start from the ground up, dreaming, envisioning, and building that vision piece by piece. Regardless of where you are, the point is when you start, how do you navigate the challenges of being an entrepreneur? How do you avoid making mistakes? Is that even possible on that journey? So on this show, we invite a variety of guests so we can hear their stories, so we can ask their advice, also so that we can be inspired and possibly we can also support them in their endeavor if you're so inclined. So we do talk about all kinds of things: life, family, careers, business, and wellness strategies, really whatever comes up. Some of my guests have been journalists, authors, musicians, tech gurus, an occasional celebrity or artist, and some, like today's guest, are multi-talented and gifted as a photographer. She also offers a unique and transformative creative photo experience shoot, and she's a dancer, and she's just simply beautiful. I'm happy and honored to call her my friend and part of my chosen family. Now, at the age of 3, Leah was enrolled in her first ballet class, and from then on, she grew up with a bun on her head and ballet slippers thrown over her shoulders. Her dance career started when she ran away with the circus, literally. In May of 2013, she began to dance with her forever partner, the pool. Yes, she began to pole dance, and it not only changed her life, but it's brought her many unique opportunities, not the least of which is her latest launch with her co-founder as artistic directors at FVT, what I would call a very unique dance academy and theater. And we're going to learn about their newest creative and entrepreneurial journey surrounding Flux Vertical Theatre. Please welcome Miss Leah Marie. Leah Marie!
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me or allowing me to join you in your space today.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks for joining me.
Right? We got it a little twisted. I got it a little twisted. I'm so excited to be here though. And I hope that, this is going to get some people's, sort of interest, because it's not often that I do these special edition on location interviews, but when I do, I really love to choose very special places. So thank you again for having me and doing this with me today.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. Let's talk about business.
Okay. That's so unlike us though, isn't it?
I know. Getting down to business.
That's right. Okay. But
kisses first.
And we'll catch up later. I know for a fact, that you're really super busy. So let's start with sort of little Leah Marie. I've already said you started dancing at the age of 3. Have you had any other careers in your life that have allowed you or helped you learn about business to get you to where you are now? And we'll focus on where you are now, but just a little history of your business and your other areas of expertise.
Absolutely. Becoming an entrepreneur is one of the most terrifying things I think I've ever done. My grandmother had a restaurant when I was growing up, so I have been in the restaurant business pretty much my whole life. And taking the step into 100% business owner meant I had to stop waiting tables. Making that choice was the first step for me into really owning business ownership. So I remember doing that probably about 10 years ago now, going full-time business. And that was when I started my photography business. So I did feminine portraiture and business headshots and basically anything that you need a camera to do until I figured out what I don't want to use the camera for. And that's what it was. It was figuring it out. I had none of the answers, but you learn along the way, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how I got started. And I think that running my own small business for myself really helped me take the big plunge into running a bigger business, which is where I am at now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I did want to touch on the fact that you literally ran away with the circus. How old were you, and which circus was that?
Yeah, okay. There is a local San Francisco-based circus company called the Vaudeville Society. And let's step back just a little bit. So I have a biology and zoology degree from college.
Forgot about that.
And 5 years after college, I was working in the marine mammal industry. So I was teaching dolphins and sea lions and killer whales, and it was an amazing job. Although you have to love it, what you do every single day. Because I think the last position I was in, I was making $12 an hour. So it's hard to live life on that kind of a salary.
Yes.
But so after that, I started training dogs. Natural progression, right? And so before I ran away with the circus, I started training the owner of the company's dog. And so I was training him to be a circus dog.
Oh, interesting. That I did not know. That's how it happened.
That's how it happened. So yeah, I was training Jack and coming to all these circus rehearsals and being like, this is cool, but I want to be doing that instead of this. So I auditioned for the company and got in and have been dancing with them for 10, 11, 12 years, something like that. And yeah, so the circus community has been my family in the Bay Area for a very long time.
I forgot about that part. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And that's how I started with pole dancing too, because there was one of the shows that we were rehearsing for that needed some pole dancers, and none of us knew how to do that. So we all took classes together, and I was hooked.
Have you ever looked back on this journey and thought, oh my gosh, what if I hadn't done this? Or what if I had done this instead? Have you ever sort of had time to reflect? I mean, it's quite the variety. Beautiful, wonderful experiences to get to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I look back all the time because I've grown so much as an individual on a personal level and as a business owner that I'm always looking at where I started in contrast to where I am, just to kind of like ground myself a little bit to be like, okay, I have come a long way.
Yes.
And that reminder is so important.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, it's one of the things that I work on when I'm, coaching or mentoring someone, whatever step, they're in their life, is to really take the time to celebrate, your growth, celebrate your wins, celebrate your tenacity and your perseverance as often as you can.
Yeah.
Because I think that adds to your fuel, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your family's been from what I remember, what I recall, very supportive.
Mm-hmm.
How so? Like, how has your mom been supportive of you, for example?
Oh, my mom is my biggest fan. She does not live here. She's in Colorado. But every time I have a show, she gets on a flight and comes here. She rhinestones all of the dancers' costumes, including mine. She's got the best costumes out there. And yeah, she loves it.
Yeah, that's wonderful, because that's also another ingredient. If you have someone or a group of someone that are supporting you as an entrepreneur, because it can be lonely, and we all know it's really tough. So having that tribe around you, that village around you, I think is also really important. And
Yeah.
you and I are both pretty lucky, I think, in that regard.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this new venture. I've seen it. I've seen your partner, the incredible Miss K. I've seen you at different shows and different performances, and I have to tell you, from my perspective, every time I see one of your shows and what you all do on stage, your cast members and yourself, this is just my opinion, but I walk away with this excitement for watching you, right? I see what you do, and I think, that is power. That is incredible. That is, I'm always so proud, and I'm just like, this is just like such, in Spanish we say, chingona. It's just so badass. And I mean, it's a cross between, from what I understand, what I've seen, it's a cross between being this super athlete and this beautiful dancer. And I've heard some people, wanting to, in fact, I was corrected not that long ago, that there's a difference between pole dancing and pole fitness. Do you agree with that statement, or do you disagree? I just want to get your opinion on that, because for me, it's the combination of all of this that maybe it's just semantics. I don't know.
Yeah, I think a little semantics, but also it's true that every pole dancer has their own journey, and we all do it for different reasons.
Right.
And that's very personal, right? Some people really come from a fitness background or are gymnasts and can do crazy tricks at the top of the pole. Some people use it for money and strip clubs and so many other reasons why we dance on the pole. Personally, for me, I've been dancing since I was 3 years old, so I like to be grounded. My comfort is when my feet are on the floor. So I don't really do a whole lot of crazy tricks or, athletic stunts, mostly because my preference is just to dance around the pole. And I use it, I think you had said this earlier, as a dance partner. And so I really do, I lean on it, I pull from it. It's a living thing to me, right? And so when I have that there as support, I can use it in so many different ways. And it is so supportive, I'll tell you, because the only way you can walk around in 8-inch stilettos is A, if you have incredible strength and you've practiced that, or B, you're attached to a pole that's not going anywhere, so you can make sure you're not going to fall down. But it's a skill, walking in 8-inch stilettos.
Right. I love that. Thank you for sharing your personal experience. For me, like I said, I think it's incredible. And I do think that it is a way to, we'll probably get into this a little bit more, but I just feel every time I see you all perform, I'm in awe. So thank you for all that experience as a theater goer, as the audience, as the viewer. I walk away just feeling energized every time I see you do what you do. You know, and I know how much work it takes to produce these shows. So there's just so much more, right?
Yeah.
But how did you and Miss Z, Miss K, how did you all come up with the idea for Flux Vertical Theatre? Like, what was that conversation like?
Oh my gosh. Well, we have been dancing together we're both in the circus, the same circus company. And she's been teaching dance and pole dance for most of her life. She's incredible. And she was actually my dance teacher when I first started doing pole as well. So, and because we both have been dancers our whole life, our styles are very similar. We look good next to each other, just because I learned from her. So I basically am a little mini Ms. K in style. And so we've always just kind of, drawn to each other in that way. And growing up, our dreams have been very similar as well, of owning a dance studio or a dance company. And, I'll be honest, in the Bay Area, it's difficult to be a performing artist. There's not a ton of opportunities. So we quickly learned that if we wanted to dance, we had to create opportunities. And so we created this dance company and produced shows, mostly so we could just dance. And then we, found out that we could hire our friends and pay people. And there was so much more to hosting and producing than we could have ever imagined. But we still wanted a dance studio. And every time we have a show, people are like, oh, we want to take classes. And so we're like, one day we will have a brick and mortar and you'll be able to come to us.
Right.
And we can build our little army, So now is that time. I'm literally sitting in the studio. You're sitting in the room next door. And if you hear big, loud noises coming from me, that's because there's dancers in the space and they're clacking heels and they're doing all kinds of tricks on the pole, literally as we speak. So,
and it's alive. This is alive. This is a living, breathing, just center for energy and dance and beauty and female empowerment. But others also dance, of course. I think one of the things that I wanted to, sort of check in with you on this journey you've had is, and maybe you can share, right? Because what you said about, one day we're going to have this, one day we have to create our own opportunities. That's very similar to any other person who's dreaming of starting their own business. Like, we all have that starting point, that from the ground up mentality. If there aren't any opportunities for women, if there aren't any opportunities for Latinos, sometimes we just have to create our own team.
Yes.
What would you say have been the top 3 challenges thus far in getting to opening the door?
I mean, for us personally, having a performing dance company, the only challenge was selling tickets. Well, we also struggle with finding diversity in the community. It's one of our top priorities, and we're very dedicated to having a diverse cast, a diverse set of teachers. Just having full representation in the Bay is so important to us. So that's always kind of a struggle because we're just constantly looking for those people.
Sure.
And then starting a brick and mortar, signing a lease on a big, giant, open, empty concrete box, then having to fill it with a stage, with walls, with a sprung floor for our dancers' joints, and and the permitting and the city ordinances and the architect. And I mean, just everything. I mean, that was its own challenge, right? And I thought, once it's built, smooth sailing. No. That was step number one in this whole thing. Now running the business, a whole new set of challenges that I wasn't expecting. I've never done this before.
Right.
So I've learned everything. I've learned, codes from the city and lingo and just I literally was on Zoom while my architect was building my space. So I watched it being built from the ground up.
Right.
And then I was here on my hands and knees building it as it was being built. So dealing with contractors, I've learned every single step of the way. Right. Project managing. And then trying to run a business once it's open is like, there's so many things I'm still learning. But we're trying, we're doing our best. We're only two women, and we're artists.
Right.
We're not necessarily like the most business-minded individuals. We are artists first.
Right. But
yeah,
we all have this experience and this drive and this desire, and I think that is at least 50% of the formula, because the other stuff we can learn. You jump in, you do it.
Yeah.
You get it done.
Absolutely.
And I think two women on that same mission can accomplish anything.
Oh, yeah. I like that. I like that.
I do want to switch gears a little bit, simply because I think that sometimes there are judgments and misconceptions and stigmas. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to leave this conversation with you without just briefly touching on it. But, I know that we all have, especially as women, especially as performers, but even in the corporate world, it happens all the time, as we know. There's this, society often talks about the object, I can't even say it, objectification. I struggle with that, of women. There's always talk about body shaming on social media. There's, and it's not just men doing this. I've seen wickedly wild, cruel women going after their sisters, right? But then let's face it, people judge all day long.
Yeah, we judge ourselves.
Right. How, in my opinion, though, what you do and what you're teaching is the acceptance of your own body and being able to be powerful in your skin. That is how I view what you do, sincerely from the bottom of my heart. But not everyone does see it that way. What would you say to those people that are so quick to judge and make assumptions about pole dancing and pole fitness and the expression as an artist?
Sometimes there's not much you can say to people. It's just like a child. You can't really tell them what to do. They just have to learn from experience. And I can talk from my own experience. I know before I started dancing on the pole, I'm a totally different person now than I was back then. And I got into pole because I saw one of my favorite dancers, and she did the cutest routine with a little handkerchief and like bows in her hair. And I was like, oh my God, that's great. I want to be this cutest little thing on a pole, because let's face it, back then it wasn't really as big as it is now, and it still was tied to the industry in the clubs. And I was thinking, well, maybe that's not for me. But when I saw her, I was like, wait, maybe this is for me. So I really gave it a good chance. And through, even getting into it, thinking I'm just going to be this cute little bubbly thing, and then being like, whoa, no, I am a sexual, sensual woman, and I didn't know that I even had these body parts before I started dancing on a pole. And it was so empowering for me on such a personal level to know my body and to allow myself to express myself in a different way, which I never gave myself the permission to do before I started dancing on the pole. And so, yeah, so now I embrace it. I embrace my femininity. I embrace, the lioness inside me. And that was all dormant. So I'm very excited that she is out.
Yes.
And I want to show that to other people, but sometimes you just have to experience it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it would ideally, I think you said this so beautifully from your perspective. Thank you for sharing that. Because like you said, it's a very personal journey for everyone.
Yeah.
But I think if the world took as much time to celebrate each other's journeys as they do to criticize, I mean, that's the Pollyanna in me coming out. I know.
Yeah.
But I think having these conversations, somebody, somewhere, even if it's one woman,
Absolutely.
that is going to hear this conversation that you and I are just having. And
Yeah.
she's going to be inclined to, maybe it isn't pole dancing, maybe it's something else, but she may be inspired to follow that. I mean, I am a very different person sitting here chatting with you than when I'm on stage singing. So
Right.
how is that different?
Right.
I become certain characters with certain songs. One of my favorite songs right now to sing is Redneck Woman. It's a country song. I love that song. I grew up with a lot of the things that song talks about, trucks and honky tonks and all of that.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that that's how I'm living my life. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just I get to play a character through that song.
Absolutely.
To me, music and dance, it's the same thing.
Absolutely.
And if we can help one woman discover that new power in her, then this is all worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that you recently had your gala, your grand opening, and I couldn't come because, as you know, we had another event simultaneously that weekend. But when you had your grand opening, when it was in that moment, how did you feel in that moment to see this grand celebration of what you're bringing to the world?
It was so emotional. I mean, wow, I cried so many times that day just to see the overwhelming amount of support, the people that showed up, the dancers on stage, the musicians that showed up for us too. We had 2 full bands. And then the dancers got to dance to live music, which is so special. And it was just that confirmation that this is going to work.
It's a wonderful thing that you're bringing, right? You've created this and you're sharing it with the world. It's just wonderful.
Yeah.
And thank you for doing that, for having the courage. You and I talked about this many moons ago
Yes.
at a food court in Emeryville, if I recall.
Yeah.
And I said, I am so excited. I can see this happening for you. I'm going to figure out a way to collaborate. And yes, we're doing that right now. But my brain is on fire right now as I'm talking to you about how can we bring all of these elements together, from fitness and wealth and health, all of that to dance and pole. And I just can't wait. Something's brewing and we're going to make it happen one way or another.
Heck yeah. Stay tuned.
Before I let you go, Leah Marie, if you don't mind, I suspect that we are going to have some people that are interested in learning about what you offer here. What's the difference between the academy and the theater? What are your hours? How do they connect with you? All of that, if you would share that with our viewers and listeners, because now we're also a podcast, then that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a fully functioning event space and theater. And I think so we're typically running 2 different businesses. Our academy that has a full student base, you can come and learn. That usually takes place Monday through Friday, and we have anywhere up to like 6 classes a day. And we're still building our classes, and our teachers and our students are finding out about it slowly, and they're coming. So you can come take classes, and then on the weekends we open our space up to events. We have theater rentals. We collaborate with other shows, and we bring other performance companies here to use our stage. It's a raised stage, so it's about 3 feet off the ground, and it's a proscenium thrust stage too. So it's huge, about 22, 23 feet wide and long. And we're also a fully accessible space. We're really proud to say that. We have a vertical wheelchair lift, ramps at our entrance, 2 ADA bathrooms, and handicap parking spots out in the front, right next to our door. So fully accessible. And yeah, you can find us on the web, Flux Vertical Theatre. We spell theater with an R-E at the end because we're fancy.
You're fancy like that.
fluxverticaltheater.com, or you can email us, fluxverticaltheater@gmail.com. Yeah. Sign up for classes. Ask us how you can rent our space.
Yes. We are going to have all those conversations, you and I, when we're done with all this. And I was just thinking as we were sitting here talking, I mean, what an amazing space for bridal showers, bachelorette parties. I mean, just anything that you can imagine. I think it would be fantastic because how many venues do you have that are designed in this way? You've got this private, smaller studio, and then you've got the theater, and you can set it up. I mean, it's all mobile, right? You can bring in and design your space the way. I mean, it's an event planner's dream.
Yeah. Oh,
it really is
that. Yeah,
really is. I'm so excited.
People, it's always so great when somebody walks in the door for the first time and they're immediately, wow. It's a big open space, about 4,000 square feet with 26-foot ceilings, and it's massive. It feels big. When you walked in today too, I saw that your eyes went big.
I mean, because it's different. A virtual tour is lovely, but when you walk in the space, and not just the physical space itself, but it's also the energy, right? It's beautiful, and you put so much attention into the detail. And I did want to ask you, the capacity for the space is how much?
We have 197 max capacity.
That's perfect. Yes, I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I can't wait to talk to you further about other things. Do you have one final, just nugget that you would like to share with our viewers and our listeners before I let you go back to work?
I mean, I challenge you to maybe try it someday, or come and see a show and just witness the magic and the power on stage, and support local arts and women-owned businesses.
Yes.
We need your support.
That is perfect. Thank you so much for just taking time out of your day. I'll get out of your hair in just a minute. But thank you, Leah Marie, and thank you to Ms. Kay for allowing me to do this. And just everyone, check it out. Come by this space. Say hello on the socials. Just check it out. I do think that if you experience at least one performance, you will be hooked. That's what I predict.
Yeah.
Thank you, Leah Marie. I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good.
And thank you all for joining me on this special edition of From the Ground Up. We shot our entire interview today at Flux Vertical Theatre here in, where am I? In Berkeley. No, Anyway, you'll find it on the website. I can't remember now where I am. But yes, Leah Marie, she's the artistic director of Flux Vertical Theatre. Just look it up online on the website. And, this has, for me, been a wonderful experience to be able to, shout out to you all and share with you what some of my artistic entrepreneurial friends are doing. She's created this fun, empowering space of expression and dance for you all, for all of us. And I think it's helping all kinds of people feel really good about themselves and their bodies. And I think if we had more of that in this world, it'd be a better place for us all. That's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. As you've seen once again, there's no reason not to lead your entrepreneurial journey or your business. And there's no reason not to lead with your heart. And I think you can become successful any which way, of course. But when you lead with your heart, in my opinion, and you offer something that helps other people feel better, feel good about themselves, that's just the icing on the cake. I'm Carmen Milagro. This is From the Ground Up, shot live today here at Flux Vertical Theatre. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.